Hey, what's up, guys? This is AJ, and as we planned, we wanted to discuss this 12th ARC report. I got some problems, so I was not able to upload those videos on Mondays and Tuesdays. So today we are going to cover or complete this report. Okay, very few points are remaining. Okay, so you don't worry, and let's start. You know what is our routine. I'm going to dictate some points. You are going to listen those points, and you are going to make notes out of those points, and then you are going to revise those points. Okay, so it will be as easy, okay, as it can get. Okay, so let's start. So what is the first point is decentralization and delegation. About decentralization and delegation, the report talks. Okay. Then they talks about the principle of subsidiarity that we have discussed earlier. Okay, uh, I mentioned you that if you wanted to know something more about subsidiarity, then you go to the Oxford dictionary and find out the meaning of subsidiarity. Okay, so there is one statement that David Osborne, okay, states. The report mentions this quote of David Osborne. What is the quote? That government to we need to reinvent the government, and the job of the government should be to steer rather than row. Okay, what is the meaning? Just don't government has to uh, take the role of as a guide. Okay, so it should not dictate the rules, or it should not control the market, or it should not control the working. It should just steer it. Okay, so rather than no, what happens is that if there is so much poverty in India, then we have to remove this poverty. Then whose responsibility is to remove this poverty? Right now it's the responsibility of government, because we are welfare state. Okay, so this is the primary responsibility of the government. So the David Osborne says that this should not be the responsibility of the government. Okay, it is they should just make a environment, or help to make such an environment in which the poverty will be automatically reduced. Right now the uh, government's job is to reduce the poverty, but after some, like, that is not the vision of the David Osborne. He says that no, the government should not do this job. Instead of it, it should just steer. Okay, I am not able to explain you this concept very in a lucid manner, but just the crux of this statement is just that the minimum role of the government should be there. Okay, so this just you just remember that the David Osborne was in favor of minimum role of government. Okay, so now here the concept of delegation comes. Okay, so this report states one definition of delegation. See, the delegation is primarily about entrusting one's authority to others. Okay, so what if we can make it simple? Then we will see that if in cricket, if the captain is absent, then the vice captain leads. Okay, so what is happening in that match? The jobs of the captain is got shifted to the vice captain. Okay, so this is nothing but a delegation, example of a delegation, that entrusting one's authority to others. Okay, so this means persons to whom authority has been delegated can take decision and act independently. They also assume responsibility for their actions, but he will be accountable. Okay, this is the definition given by the this commission's report. Okay, so what are the benefits of the delegation? Benefits are as follows. Remember these benefits, it will be easy for you. So first is it saves time. Then second is a quicker decision making. Then third is grooms and motivates the successor. Then fourth is provides more time to supervise. Okay, to for the constructive review or deliberation in the interest of progress. Okay, so these kind of things are happening just because of the delegation. There are few more also. It saves hours of unnecessary work. It increases productivity. Then it provides valuable training to associates and employees. then enriched level of satisfaction and greater sense of worth. Okay, so these things happen due to delegation. Okay, next point is what are the barriers in effective delegations. First, the report mentions two types of barriers. First is reluctance by superior to delegate. Okay, because he believes that he can do task better. Okay, so the second is reluctance by subordinates to accept delegation, want to avoid, because he wants to avoid possible criticism from supervisors. Okay, let me explain it. Okay, so what happens in India in administration, they have like the district collector is there. Okay, we know this post of district collector. It is there is tremendous power vested in the district collector. Okay, so he is superior, the most superior, most senior most officer in in a district. Okay, so whatever comes under districts, it comes under the district collector. So this there is too much power vested in district collector. It is not good for democracy. We need to decentralize this. We need to derive some power out of district collector and give that power to the subordinate officers. But this is not possible because of the reluctance by the district collectors. Okay, so this is the first barrier for effective delegation. And the second one is even if imagine one case where district collector wants to give a power to certain subordinate officer, but at that time subordinate officer refuses. There is a recently there was an incident in Haryana. Okay, what was the incident? There was a the mob got out of control in Panchakula, and there was so much destructions they have caused. Okay, in Panchakula. At that time, imagine a case like district collector giving power to the assistant collector, that he should be able, he should now on he should be controlling this mob. Okay, at that time what a district assistant collector will do, he will say he will refuse this, because he knows that if some disaster come, and if there is so many deaths of the people at that type of riots. Okay, so at that time he will be only responsible. At that time district collector will say that I have vested power in the assistant collector. If you want to ask some questions, then you should ask questions to assistant collector. Okay, because I have delegated him. Okay, at that time what will happen, the assistant collector will refuse. Why? Because he knows the consequences of accepting this authority. Okay, so these are the two types of barrier to effective delegations. Okay, next point is delegations is facilitated when there is. Okay, so what are the preconditions of delegations? Okay, so this report talks about this thing. First is transparency. If there is a transparency, there you will find a delegation. The second is open communication. Okay, if there is a proper communication between subordinates and seniors, then there will be delegation. Then third is subordinates are made feel important. Okay, then only they will take responsibility. Then authority equated with responsibility. Again, there should be accountability. Then reward for good performance. Again, if there is no good performance or no incentives, then very few chances are there that this delegation will work. Next is culture of trust and risk taking is developed. Okay, unless and until we have this kind of culture, work culture, then it is not possible to have a effective delegation. Next is constructive feedback is given. Again, if this delegation is working or not, okay, or we need to improve this delegation, at that time we need a constructive feedback. Okay, so if there is a lack of constructive feedback, there will not be any effective delegation. Next is standards to measure performance are prescribed in advance. Again, on what qualities or on what parameters you are going to check the delegation is working effectively or not. These parameters you have to put in a public domain. On based on only those parameters you should make a person accountable. Okay, this should be these are the prerequisite for the delegations to become effective. Next is following are the principles to delegate successfully. Okay, what are the principles? First is clearly articulate desired outcomes. Again, as I told you earlier. Next is clearly identify constraints and extent of authority, responsibility and accountability. Okay, these words are self-explanatory. Next is where possible include people in delegation process. What is the name of this report? Is people's citizen centric approach. Okay, so at that time, so what is the base statement that we need to remember? Is we need to there should be a participant of citizen in every stage, okay, or every step, okay, of governance. Okay, so now like delegation is one kind of governance. Then at that time we need a constructive feedback. So for that constructive feedback, who is better than a citizen? So what is the statement says is that where possible include people in delegation process. Okay, so next point is what is the next point? Math responsibility with the so uh, match the responsibility with communicate responsibility. Okay, so there should be a proper effective communication. Okay, next E, delegate to the lowest level in the organization capable of performance task. Again, uh, make, you know, fragmentation of work should be there. Then this work should be given to the particular person. Okay, the smallest group should get the biggest authority. That is the thing that the report talks. Next is F, provide adequate support and ensure success through communication and monitoring. Okay, so these things we need. Okay, so there should be a institutional backing, then providing support and ensure success. Okay, guide them, the superior should guide the inferiors. Okay, next is focus on results, allow persons to control his or her own methods and process. Again, the means are not important, ends are important, is what the report says, irrespective to this delegation only. Then what they say is focus on results, don't focus on the methods through which this result has came. Okay, so next point is avoid upward delegation. Again, what happens is that like the case I mentioned earlier, if the assistant collector gets responsibility and he fails to execute his responsibility, so at that time he, if he says that, you know, I am not responsible for this loss, the collector is responsible for this loss, then this is called as a upward delegation. He is shifting his responsibility towards the superior. Okay, so this should be avoided, is the what the report states. Okay, next is build motivation and commitment. Again, empower them, do the capacity building, then only people that subordinate will be able to, or will motivate towards taking the responsibility and doing their job effectively. Next is establish and maintain control. Okay, for that, okay, so what the commission states for this is that to establish and maintain control we need to do these things. Which things? First is set timelines and deadlines. Next, agree on schedule of checkpoints. Okay, next, third is make adjustment as necessary, and fourth is take time to review all the submitted work. Okay, so these many things they talks about in the chapter called decentralization and delegation. Okay, so thanks guys for watching this video, and we will meet in the next video. Peace.